Alright, response video time. Again. Yeah, honestly, while I thought the previous one would be the last one, and I know some people thought it was fine, I think a lot of people thought it was simply too short or didn't cover enough. So let's try this again, shall we? So several years ago, I had an online relationship with someone who claimed that she was 17 at the time, and at this time I would have been 19. She also told everyone else at the time this exact same thing. Now, I mention all of this because this person lied about their age for multiple years on end. This isn't just me saying this either. Multiple others can confirm that they were told this as well, such as Kalos, Random, Luigi Channel 50, and Puddle, all of whom were there during this time period. I was personally given no reason to doubt this, and no one ever seemed to figure this out early or otherwise message me raising any alarms about it. Apparently the only person who ever even questioned her age seems to have been Nightminer, which I had mentioned way back in my video on him. Although even then, it was just him mentioning how she sounded young, which not only wasn't raised by anyone else ever, but also isn't exactly a good metric either way. People used to say I sounded like I was really young, or even a couple of times that I sounded like a girl, despite being an adult at that point. That tangent aside, I didn't learn the truth until, like most people, years afterwards. I know some might argue asking for ID, but okay, to keep this brief, not only are there plenty of people who don't have ID at that age, or sometimes even older, but the risks of identity theft and fraud far outweigh any benefits that go along with that sort of thing. I know some might claim that the honor system isn't the best method, but what other method is really available without massive risk? Anyway, I also want to specify that this was an online relationship only. So we never met up, we didn't talk a ton, it lasted a few months from February to May, and like I mentioned in the previous video, nothing like nudes were exchanged. A rumor I've heard come from all of this as well, even though it wasn't in the video, was people thinking I had supposedly forced her to make certain drawings, which isn't true. Finally, there's this continuing claim about masturbating to her, which I said wasn't true in the previous response video, and I'm saying again here. It wasn't to her, or a drawing, or anything like that. Now, granted, this rumor is kind of my fault since I did mention this once as a lie, although even way back then, I said that this was fake as a sort of test. To be fair, it was still a stupid thing to say, even as a test. Ultimately, I even messaged the person who made the original video and said that wasn't true, multiple times in fact, and have said multiple times now how that whole argument is incorrect. So in the video, we're shown a few screenshots between me and two others. While I know exactly who these people are, we'll keep them anonymous. With these messages, another anonymous person forwarded these screenshots to the creator of the video, but otherwise these weren't being readily given out by each anonymous person to the creator of the video. Anonymous A has confirmed that in my messages about and towards said person, I was acting as if this was more banter between friends than anything else, and that I simply wasn't thinking anything of it at the time. The first one of these is this image where I sent someone else's art. I'll also note that the art that was sent to Anonymous A wasn't porn, despite what the other video claims, especially since the character was fully clothed. It still wasn't good to send given the rather suggestive nature of it, and I wouldn't do that again, but at the same time it should be noted that I wouldn't have ever sent this person that art had I figured it was porn. Please note that I've omitted certain portions of Anonymous A's statement due to said person not wanting it put in the video. I was given permission to use this shortened screenshot as the official statement. While there wasn't any intent of harm, in hindsight it was pretty stupid. This also applies to all of these messages, such as this one here, where I wouldn't do something like this again. Anonymous B, I actually don't have a ton to talk about. Most of this person's messages overlapped with Anonymous A, save for this message, which was pretty clearly a joke and had no intention of being inappropriate. I personally don't really know why this was even included in the video, as I think most people should be able to tell right away that it was a joke. This final one shows another joke that I had made, but to be fair, unlike the previous one, my wording was really stupid here and could have used some work. Again, none of these messages were intended to be harmful or inappropriate in any way. I guess since we're on the topic, there was also a claim being made about me asking someone for, now quoting, wanted Anonymous to draw a gender-bent dub with tits out. He was 14.
What?
Now, to be fair, this isn't the origin of this, rather it's based on something Anonymous C said, which we'll actually discuss right now. Anonymous C... Actually, I have no clue what the deal is with Anonymous C. Anonymous C is the origin of this claim of me supposedly requesting this aforementioned art. I went and checked my messages with Anonymous C, and I can say that what was being claimed never existed, and I didn't ask for anything like that, like I said before. Now again, to clarify, while I know who the anonymous person is here, I genuinely don't remember ever saying or asking for that, and I have no clue where that came from. Even if I were to give this claim the absolute most benefit of the doubt, I know that I wouldn't have asked the person for that second portion of the request. While this wasn't mentioned in the video, it also seems like some people are taking this rumor and expanding it to be that I had supposedly commissioned a minor for NSFW art, which isn't true. I find it interesting how this portion where I said I was indifferent to people making NSFW, in part because I couldn't stop people from drawing, got framed to be me encouraging it, somehow. So a while back, I used to use a Twitter account specifically for NSFW art, keyword being used to, as that account isn't being used anymore, and hasn't been for a while now. It's also been claimed that the NSFW account was public, which isn't the case. When this is brought up, this always revolves around the likes on that account. Honestly though, I'm not going to get into that here. We've been over much of this before. While I think some of my opinions on certain things have changed, I'm not going to waste a bunch of time in this video arguing about this stupid thing again. Like I said to someone else who brought this up a while ago, I'm not into lolly, but I'm also not one of those people who goes and looks up the canon age of characters. And like I said before, the account isn't even being used anymore because, well, honestly, I'm really just not that interested at this point. For this video, the whole thing is just burning time in my opinion. There's also a brief mention in this video about suicide baiting and stuff like that, which is horrible, and I wouldn't ever do such a thing. Also, apparently something about depression streams. While multiple people have told me that these streams did exist, and was actually the basis for an infamous quote from David Plex, I personally don't remember the streams themselves. But if that happened, then I truly apologize. Now this is similar to those messages from before, sort of. So to make a long story short, I was added to a group chat several years ago, where some people I hadn't met before were asking how I was and if they could help at all. This is where I decided to ask for dating advice. Again, this is one of those things where in hindsight it was really stupid. I didn't say anything inappropriate, none of the conversation was sexual or anything, and in general I had no intention of causing any discomfort, but looking back it was just dumb. Another thing that had been said some time ago about this claimed that I knew the age of one of the people in this group chat, and that I had said, quote, told him you wanted to make out with white/Asians. That first portion I never knew to begin with, and that second portion I don't remember ever saying. Another rumor I've seen floating around has been this one random and really stupid girlfriend chart I made back in 2017. It's stupid, but the only reason I mention it is because people are taking it as if I made that recently, which, no, I didn't. Alright, this one. Now, I know that this wasn't really brought up in any of the videos, but I feel I should mention it anyway since this does get brought up from time to time. So for those unaware, I said some rather harsh things about trans people several years ago, which I'm not going to repeat, they were that bad. Not least of which being to someone named Yoshi Star, or I guess Cookie Star now. And honestly, this was needlessly cruel and just made me come across as a jerk more than anything else. Like many of the things in this video, this was one of those dumb things that I wouldn't do again now. And in general, I'm just sorry for that. I like to think I've learned a lot more about the topic since then, and that I treat people with far more respect and care. I think the best way to conclude this whole thing is to say that a lot of this was a bunch of unintentionally dumb things I did, keeping in mind of course that none of it was meant to be inappropriate. Well, that's all for now. I hope that this video was more substantial and could answer everyone's questions in a decent manner. Like I said before, more videos are coming soon, and also sorry for the delay. That's what happens when I work on 4 videos in parallel, huh? Well, thank you all for watching, and take care.